One of the greatest units to ever grace the game, the Legion of Boom dominated their way to an emphatic Super Bowl victory, reshaping the league's landscape in the process. A combination of great coaches and talented players created a scheme that left offenses with nowhere to go, suffocating them into misery and booming hits. Over a decade later, their presence is still felt throughout the NFL. So, let's talk about what made them so damn special. Every great defense is built upon a strong set of foundations, and there are 5 main principles to this unit. Gap up everything and make running lanes non-existent. Eliminate anything explosive using a 4-under-3 cover 3 system. Empower your corners to use their size and aggression to mask the coverage. Use indicators and alerts to take away the intermediate, and force the ball to the kill zone. Then rally like madmen. That's a lot to take in. So let's start with the run game. The shortest path to the end zone is straight up the middle, and that's why the run has to be the first priority in any defense. To make sure they always outgapped the offense, the Seahawks employed a single high system, allowing them to roll a safety down to create an 8-man box. The safeties were the key to this defense, and they wasn't no ordinary boys, but the finest of their generation, Kam Chancellor and Earl Thomas. Kam was the engine of this unit and the majority box safety, but he would interchange with Earl in certain situations. In their base stone front, Kam occupied the strong side, playing up on the line, with the Sam backer to the weak side, again, aggressively playing the edge, creating a pseudo 6-man line. The linebacker's responsibilities were dependent on the direction of the run. If the run came to the strong side, the will backer will be the turnback player, aiming to get outside any lead block and send the run back inside. And the Mike would be the run-through player, free of blocks, ready to fly downhill to take out the back. If the run goes to the weak side, they swap responsibilities, with the Mike responsible for turning the run back inside, and the will becomes the run-through, free to attack the back with a full head of steam. Wagner turns the run back for KJ Wright to fly in and take out the back, but Kam Chancellor comes screaming off the edge and beats him to the tackle. And this was the case no matter what teams threw at them. No matter the micro adjustments in the box to create angles, the Seahawks still have every gap closed in their base front, and a free run-through man in the box. With everything appearing closed, it becomes incredibly difficult to know what to run at them. Teams usually look for the bubble. That's an uncovered lineman who has space to climb to the second level and base their run scheme off of it, manipulating that gap based on the front. However, with no bubbles arising, teams found themselves running into brick wall after brick wall, unable to find a way through it. As the bear hunt taught us, if you can't run through it, you must go around it. So, the logical beater for this would be to get the ball out wide fast, using a toss or jet sweep to get there quickly. However, this is easier said than done. Any toss play to the strong side saw you needing to set an edge against Kam Chancellor, and hey, good luck with that. Running to the weak side still left you with problems too. With nobody able to get out quickly to the Sam backer, the edge was hard to get, and you still had a backer who was unaccounted for. The beauty of this front is how easily it blends into their second most common front, Frisco. If the offense reset the strength of the formation through the tight end motioning, Kam backs off the line, and the backers shift over, leaving everything gapped up, and maintaining that free run-through backer. They like to run this front against 21 personnel, that's 2 backs and 1 tight end, where the angles created, again, shut everything closed. In this front, you'll often see the nose playing with a tilted shade, and this neutralizes both the center's ability to reach block him and guard's ability to climb to the second level. And here it is again against 22 personnel. They try to run it with counter action, but they're simply outnumbered and there's nowhere to go, except to the segue to our sponsor, Blue Chew. Dudes, listen up, we're about to get personal. Y'all ever been ready for some action, but the little guy downstairs was too timid and just wasn't ready to get in the game? It's okay. A lot of folks have been there, and now we have the solution for you. Blue Chew provides an easy-to-use online service that gives men access to safe, chewable tablets containing key ingredients that help fight that downstairs dysfunction. Blue Chew is stress-free, everything is done online with just a few clicks, and your medication is delivered directly to you. These tablets help men achieve stronger, harder, and longer-lasting erections at a mere fraction of the typical medication cost. Just click the link in our bio to get started and get approved within 24 hours of signing up. It's that easy. If you're battling ED, don't be ashamed, because Blue Chew is here to help you get back in the game. With the run game squeezed shut, the defense could turn their attention to the most important part of the modern game, controlling the air. The Hawks employed a 4-under, 3-deep cover 3 as their base coverage, playing with incredibly aggressive corners. Instead of a straight bail to deep thirds, the corners were handed a lot of freedom with how they played the man heads up from them. They often played heavy, aggressive press technique, bending the rules for amount of contact allowed, aiming to throw off the timing of the play. On any even split offense, they were given a read call and essentially allowed to man up unless he went underneath, in which case they'd leave him for the inside help and bail to their deep third. The freedom allowed each corner to play their man dependent on the matchup and skill. Here, Sherman plays aggressive, while Browner chooses to bail. That freedom given to the corners, paired with aggressive play, created an abundance of turnovers, and Richard Sherman was the biggest contributor. His size and length allowed him to disrupt, and his former receiver play instincts meant when the football went up, he was the one running the route for the ball. It wasn't just Sherman though. Both Byron Maxwell and Brandon Browner played physical, ball-winning coverage, helping the Seahawks lead the league in turnovers. Physical play isn't just great for getting the ball, but acts as a major disruptor to timing-based offenses. Receivers don't have the time to be fighting DBs. Their task is to get to a spot at the correct time for the QB to throw in rhythm. The Seahawks were so good at breaking up this timing that the deep ball just became impossible for teams to hit. When the QB looked up, the receiver was either completely locked up or several steps behind where he needed to be. And with an all-pro Earl Thomas lurking over the top, that becomes a ball you really don't want to throw. Allowing your corners to use their natural man coverage skills as part of the cover 3 system made coverages much harder to identify. And that confusion could lead to poor throws and even more turnovers. When teams brought multiple receivers to one side, they would often use man-match principles to help counter the numbers advantage, again, lending more disguise to their base cover 3. When the Hawks saw twins, they could run what they called mix. And if you've played football before or are an X's and O's junkie, this is just palms or two read, essentially using the 3 defenders over the 2 receivers to create a triangle, passing off the coverage based on the number 2's release. Back to the base cover 3, and like most zone systems, each player has a given depth and landmark to drop to based on formation and ball location. Staying static won't suffice in today's NFL, so to counter modern trickery, each position was taught how they might be attacked, given indicators to look out for, and taught how to adapt their coverage to shut down the threat. What constitutes an indicator could be an exhaustive list, from pre-snap formations and motions to post-snap route distribution or movement of the offensive line. It really is just anything that could give you intel on how the team plans to attack. Indicators were often game plan specific, allowing each position to focus on a few problems for that upcoming week, while maintaining ways to adapt to new threats in-game. Team-wide indicators exist, and there's no bigger one in zone defense than the QB. Players are taught to drift with the QB's vision, squeezing the space towards the targets. If the QB sets up on a 3-step drop, that's an indicator of the quick game, and the underneath level was taught: when he sets up, I set up, abandoning depth and gaining width in the hopes of poaching a route. Each position would have its own set of indicators too, and this was very matchup dependent. But here's some common problems for each zone, the indicators they used, and the solutions they came up with. Starting with the weak hook, one way to cause him issues is with some form of boot or naked action, play actioning the ball one way before rolling the QB out for a pass to the other. This often leaves him completely out of the play as he's forced to fit the run one way and then turn around and guard a spot that's unlikely to be attacked. But teams often leave a tell this is coming in the form of a condensed receiver, or X-nasty. Teams condense the split to allow the X receiver to get across the field faster, but the defense can now use it as an indicator. So if the weak hook sees the X-nasty alignment, he's going to maintain his run fit, but be keying on the play action. And as soon as he sees pass, make a beeline across the field, trying to cut off a crosser. There's no point having them stay static and guarding a spot where the ball is never going to go. So putting the player on the move towards the boot usually does a great job to mirror a crossing route and disrupt an option for the QB. Depending on game plan, the strong hook defender might also be looking for this and abandon their zone to go get the QB. Another way to attack the weak hook is with the dig in between the levels. This puts him in a bind, especially when paired with a crosser from the other side. Teams will usually use a split or personnel indicator to work out when this is coming, and then have the weak hook aggressively play one or the other with help from other defenders, trying to control the location of the throw. Moving to the strong hook, another problem that needed to be dealt with is the 3 receiver going to the flat. As a strong hook, this is likely to tell you how the play will unfold. With the 3 heading boundary, somebody is going to be coming back into your zone, and you need to be looking to attach to the 2 and man him up, or look for the 1 coming underneath. The weak side buzz has to be aware of when the offense isolates the X, because depending on the split, he might find himself guarding nobody. He needs to work out what route they're trying to run and position himself to cut this off. The strong side buzz also has many indicators. He has to be aware of the wheel route, making sure to carry the second man through his zone. And the placement of the running back can often be a telltale sign of a sprint out. If the back is to his side and the QB's natural rollout side, there's potential for a sprint option, and he should be coming downhill to play aggressive in the flat. Certain formational alignments would see the need for multiple players to be aware and communicate, in which case an alert was called. One of the biggest weaknesses in playing a cover 3 system is the seams, and the Seahawks found a way to shut this down. Anytime a team went into a 2x2 alignment, that's 2 receivers each side of the center, a seam alert would be called, and the safeties would become responsible for guarding the seams, leaning 60% to the seam and 40% to their original assignment. By locking this coverage to the safeties, the Hawks always knew who was to be responsible for it, lowering the need for communication and risk of confusion. The players most likely to be attacking the seams, that's slot receivers or route running tight ends, were also well matched up on. The combination of stout principles with alerts and indicators to take away the counters made attacking this defense ridiculously difficult. Add in physical press corners and 2 hard-hitting safeties, and throwing into the Legion of Boom was near suicide. Many teams were forced to check the ball down, and that is exactly what the Seahawks wanted. With an array of speed throughout the unit, throwing the ball short meant 2 or 3 men would quickly be on you, smothering the play shut with some sure tackling. This wasn't the only defense they played, and they mixed in cover 2 and plenty of man coverage, but it made up the base of their system and what became their main identity. We've talked a lot about scheme, but none of this would be possible without immense talent. So let's turn our attention to the players. Firstly, Cam Chancellor ran the show. He was the star of this defense and the one who made it all click. Whether wrecking shop in the run or delivering the boom in the secondary, you wanted to do everything you could to stay away from this man. Arizona tried to get cute here, offsetting the back to create angles for a sweep, but Cam ain't having none of it. He's got the edge and just straight bodies the puller, sending him cascading into the runner. Andre Ellington has the quick wit to hurdle his lineman, but it's straight into the path of Cam, who delivers another hit. The Seahawks love to use him as the robber in cover 1, where he'd come downhill to deliver the boom. The late great Demaryius Thomas is the victim here, receiving a thunderous hit. His vision and feel for the game were just spectacular. He knew exactly when to break off responsibilities and make a play. He's got the weak buzz here, so first he's dropping to make sure he gets over the wheel route, eyes back on the QB. With wide vision, he spots the crosshair and Kaepernick releasing and immediately breaks downhill and goes straight through the chest of Vernon Davis. Ooh. This is great understanding in the red zone here, and more good use of his strength. He understands the twin tight ends and empty are looking to find those pockets in the zones, so made sure to track vertically, pushing Jim Dre out of bounds before he can get 2 feet in. And it wasn't all hits. Cam was truly an intellectual player, able to bait quarterbacks into mistakes. This play against Manning is one of the smartest I've seen in all my years watching tape. The Broncos have twigged the seam alert on tape and know that the safeties are responsible for them in 2x2 formations. So they send Julius Thomas up the seam to make Cam track deep, and send Wes Welker up the seam skinny to make Earl Thomas back up, before breaking him cross-field into the created space. However, Cam reads exactly what's going on, staying on Julius just long enough to induce the throw before breaking to Welker and blowing up the pass. Equally as important to the scheme's success was Earl Thomas. Earl was the last line of defense, operating with incredible smarts and instincts to make an impact across the field. The box gets caught over pursuing here, and another all-time great in AP looks like he's about to punish him, using his lineman to redirect him to the cutback. However, Earl's there to save the day, wrapping up Peterson in the open field for what would have been a house call. His instincts and feel for the game were only rivaled by Cam. Watch him read the running back slip the pass pro and immediately fly downhill, beating all the linemen to the angle and throwing the back out of bounds. And there was a reason why this was called the Legion of Boom. They could all hit. We gave them their props earlier, but the corners really did help tie this scheme together, able to play physical coverage and mess up receivers on the line, while remaining demons on the deep ball, frustrating and confusing teams, leading to ill-judged attempts and many a turnover. Here's the play that caused the famous rant, and it's even better in the All-22. This is the third game these two had played this season, and they started chirping in the first. So, to come up with perfect fade coverage, tip, and pick to win it, yeah, go ahead and talk your shit, Sherman.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game!
And they got great play at the right cornerback position too. Both Byron Maxwell and Brandon Browner continued the trend of playing great physical coverage, trying to bend the rules as much as possible. This is about as perfect as you can do it though, and there's no flags here, closing the space to the sideline and then getting his eyes to the ball, timing his leap and using his length to break this up from Hall of Famer Larry Fitzgerald. And you guessed it, Earl Thomas is there again for the rebound. The team was incredibly deep, and this was best seen on the defensive line. With great run stuffers in Red Bryant and Chris Clemens, the Seahawks were able to use both Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill as rotational rushers, creating havoc with fresh legs. They only send 3 here, but Michael Bennett is in the backfield almost instantly, hitting the right tackle with a Euro step and swipe, poking this free from the second Manning's grasp. Do y'all understand how unfair an advantage is to have one of the very best pass rushers in the league and have the quality and depth to only deploy him in key situations? A fresh Michael Bennett was basically unguardable. And Bennett was excellent in the run too, again using that get off to jump gaps and make big negative plays. Cliff Averill also played his role to perfection opposite Bennett, acting as a duo to hunt QBs on third. He goes the long route round the tackle here, but his speed is so quick, his deceleration elite, and length so long, he can get to breeze and poke this loose, sending the pass attempt tumbling right into the midst of Michael Bennett. And yup, he's taking this back to the crib. Honestly, everyone on this defense deserves some love, from a young KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner to Tony McDaniel and Brandon Mebane, who had career years playing as run stuffers. Everyone contributed, and that's what makes this one of the very best defenses of all time. The Legion of Boom created waves that are still rippling today throughout the NFL landscape. Many teams went out and hired members of their coaching staff with the aim to replicate it. Trust me, I'm a Falcons fan, I know. And everybody tried to copy it to some extent, poaching details and ideas to fit their own systems. Despite the increase in two-high systems and more exotic pattern matching coverages in recent years, Cover 3 is still the league's most common defense, ran in 35.4% of all coverages per Field Vision Sports. This is still largely how we see Cover 3 played today, using issues and indicators to send players to the right location. And the search for long, athletic, yet underdeveloped corners still permeates through today's scouting process. Other parts of the scheme, however, are much harder to replicate. Everybody wants a box safety who can fulfill multiple roles and hit like a train, but there's only one Cam Chancellor. Everybody wants a rangy single-high safety, but Earl Thomas don't grow on trees, and everyone wanted a bite at the coaching tree. But it was the culmination of multiple great coaches coming together that built the Legion of Boom.